I think this is dope. And people need to know it. What's up, y'all? We live out here, and we just finished recording our weekly episode of the Omi Show. But of course, I always tell people like it's just not enough room in the show for us to talk about everything that we want to talk about. So here we are at the party, going live, letting y'all know this will be streaming. So right now we're streaming on YouTube, we're streaming on LinkedIn, and we're streaming on Instagram. However, the replay will only be available on YouTube, as far as I know. I don't know. Actually, maybe it is available on LinkedIn. I just don't know it. But we talking about raising money, and like we were talking a lot about like cultural context around raising money. And Cope, you had something you were about to say, and I stopped you.
So essentially about raising money, one of the key things that I picked up from um, Aaron Holiday, who runs 645 Ventures. So he was starting out. He had this element that he kind of nugget he shared, which was you always have to focus on behavioral psychology of investors. What is the investor behavioral psychology? Understanding why they make the decisions that they make to potentially invest in you. And you could talk about it in a whole fancy words, but how do you build trust? And one of the in that process, I learned a couple of things, and that was that sometimes people may not give you money because they don't think you're going to be successful, not in the execution of what you're doing, but the finance risk of you not being able to raise enough money to do what you plan to do, right? Because they see the barriers against you. And so they take that as a risk that's also separate from will you be able to execute because of your capacity, but will you have the financial capacity with the dream that you want to go about? And that is an interesting sort of component. And I recognize that as like, okay, so if I'm going to invest in, because I decided I'm going to invest in founders that are of color, right, that come from immigrant or Black communities. Well, they are more than likely, when we think about the numbers, some of the justification was that, well, we're underinvested in, like people, our communities were underinvested. So by that very nature, I'm admitting that the founders are going to have a hard time raising capital. So how do I pick out of the founders that look like me? How do I pick the winners that won't have a harder, that will be able to figure out how to raise capital, right? And what I created was this kind of idea that all investing is tribal, that trust is built through tribes and community. And then the idea then becomes beyond that, people who are able to like be cross tribal and they exhibit their ability to cross cultures, especially from our community, are those ones that can get to those other people who have capital in those communities, right? And they can build trust, they can become likable. It's those traits that I can pick out in a founder that they have a higher tendency to, even if they have a pretty good dream, they have a plus talent of finding and building relationships across communities. That is the talent that is rare. Not just the ability to do what you do, but the ability to move in circles that weren't born in, that aren't natural to you, that enable.
You saying something? So okay. You just dropped a major gem there. Here's the thing I want to say. For those who are listening, sometimes people take giving like insight as a charge, right? Like, oh, now I gotta go become cross cultural. Oh, now I gotta go be light. And it's like, look, ain't nobody saying that, but what do what you do, be you. And
Yeah.
yes, systematically, because this is what happens. The system issues are compounded issues. That's what make them systematic, right? It's not just one issue versus another issue, but it's a systematic issue because it's a compounded thing.
Mhm.
So what happens is that, okay, like you said, there's this narrative, and this is why like we got to be careful about narratives. Like there got to be space to tell the truth, and because the narrative of like, oh well, less than 2% of Black founders raise capital, that's like, oh my god, less than 2% of Black founders raise capital at a certain level. Y'all need to give us capital. Y'all, whoever the y'all is, need to give us capital. But then there's the other side of that where it's like, wait a minute, but less than 2% of y'all gonna get capital. So so if less than 2% of y'all gonna get capital, then why you want me to get my capital? Like, and I'm not saying that that's right or fair or any of that, but to just add context to the fact that like that's a reality, that like it doesn't grow. These facts don't necessarily help it grow. If you look at the less than 1%, the less than 2% of women are getting venture capital, less than 1% of black folks are getting venture capital, right? If you look at the course over the last 10 years that has been out, it has not gotten better.
Exactly.
And when, you know, okay, say what you want to say about people being racist, got it. People are conservative in different ways with their capital because they're banking on people they know in a way that they know them, pattern recognition, blah, blah, blah. The system is broken and it's not okay. But I don't want you to take us sharing this cross-cultural likability as a gem. Like the cross-cultural likability is a real thing. Like whether people want to listen to it or not, it's a real thing. If you have cross-cultural likability, and that don't mean, and I'm not saying that because then again, I can hear all the activists in my brain, you know, oh, that's because you're light skinned. Oh, that's because you're cute. You know, that's because you're pretty. Oh, that's because you, all of those might be a factor. I don't know. That's because you went to a certain school. All those might be a factor. Nobody's saying that. But the thing still remains that cross-cultural likability is a real thing. I do believe, now y'all might think I'm a little crazy, but I do believe that cross-cultural likability can be achieved by many people from many walks of life.
Absolutely.
Because the likability, like I told you, there's opportunity in likability. And people get mad at you. Like, my homegirl now, okay, we cool. That's my homie now, 10 toes down, whatever she need, I'm rallying for her. You know what I'm saying? I'm showing up where she need me to show up. But I remember having a conversation with her when she was early on and she started. And I was like, you need to be more likable. What do you mean? You know, like she was really like, what do you mean? Like I am like, and I was like, okay. You know, you just gotta let it be. People don't always want to take feedback. I remember another founder, me and you I was just talking to you about how people, you say you're an investor, people just automatically start proposing to you.
Yeah.
And I was at a Wilson Sonsini event. Shout out to Wilson Sonsini.
Yeah.
And I was one of the speakers, but this girl didn't know that, right? So we're all at the table, and it's a bunch of lawyers, and we're really just talking with storytelling. Like I'm telling them to like how you start BGV. I'm storytelling, and this founder walks up and is introduced by one of the people that from Wilson Sonsini. Like, okay, yeah, like you know, she needs to know this table, right? She immediately goes in. I got a blah 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 product, and we're focused on like women and perimenopause and da da da. Y'all need to do that. And we're just kind of like standing there like, and I don't know if she could see it because she was just so involved in what she felt like she had to say. And I said to her like, hey, I think that's great, but like who, like, tell me what you care, like what else do you care about? Like who are you? You know, like tell me a little. I don't think I said who are you because that sounds harsh, but I think I did say like tell us a little bit more about you, like your why, like what. And she got like, you know, like she got such an attitude with me. And let me tell you something, I would not invest in her because that tells me you can't take feedback. And she didn't ask me for an investment, but I'm just saying that like you never know who you're talking to. You got to be careful about being rude to people. And I didn't take it any kind of way though, in the sense that like I just was like, okay, girl, whatever. Cause you better tell them they thinking the same thing I'm thinking it, but they're not saying it. That right there be getting me. Y'all, people are not confrontational, so they don't say things to you. But guess where they saying it? In the back rooms to us.
That's true. That's true. People, I mean, you know, sometimes though, what I realize is I agree with you. Some people are heavily abrasive, and you know, we've been in social settings together and we've experienced people at the same time. But what I believe wholeheartedly is oftentimes people's approach doesn't work with me, but it must work somewhere that is feeding them to make sure that they do it again because they like behave that way with other people.
I don't think so.
Sometimes it must work.
You know what? I don't think so. Because where they at? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't see no shade. But all I'm saying is, they sometimes, and it's interesting because sometimes when we contract people, and you may have run into this too, their stuff don't be tight. Like sometimes I'll meet contractors. I'm like, yeah, I want to work with you, whatever. And my expectations are high. So
Mhm.
things I need you to give me, like the way I need your line items on a invoice and stuff like that. Sometimes people are sloppy with it.
Mhm.
And then they'll go, well, I've worked with all of these companies and it was fine for them. And I think to myself, that's because you knew somebody. It wasn't a blanket, it wasn't a cold recruit. It
Mhm.
was you knew somebody and they ushered you in and you don't realize how much that mattered. I don't know you. Nobody ushered you in here. I chose to work with you because from your output, it looks great because you did work with these other companies. But
It's,
really on the back end, you're a mess.
I mean, this goes back to the conversation that we were having earlier, how because the corporate world is shrinking in terms of because there's so much productivity and efficiency created by AI, there's less roles that are going to be available, and there's more attrition that's happening. People are leaving these roles. They're looking for a new thing. They're not finding them. And so what that means is people coming out of the corporate space are going to be exposed, I think, in a lot of ways, because a lot of people that I've experienced that have these great logos next to their name, call it whatever big company you want. When you need them to be productive, they're not as capable to be as productive without the logo, without the budget.
OMG. You say that 2 times for the people in the back, yo.
And you're like in a moment where you assume because they were working on a large scale project or at a large company with a large division that their capacity is based on that. Like what you if you were running a $50 million business, even though it might not be the $1 billion company, but you're running a $50 million business unit, the way I would think you would be capable of if you're running a $50 million business in a corporate business unit, your capacity doesn't
It
necessarily.
doesn't match. And what you're saying is so key because the expectations from a small business owner are going to look a lot different.
Mhm.
So even going to work with a small business owner, there's certain steps being skipped that are actually not necessary to get where you're trying to go. But when you come from a larger like conglomerate or corporation, you think that those are the reasons why those things work, and you're like, actually, all that bureaucracy you was under is not the reason why that thing works.
It's not.
And people don't realize that. They think like, oh, well, over at such and such, we had these systems, and that's why. And it's like, actually, I'm doing a lot of acting today. I love that for me. But this is a lot of voices. I got voices in me. But but actually, the reason why certain things are efficient or not is not because of the systems. And keeping it 100, some of these corporate systems are straight BS.
Often.
These corporate systems be straight BS, yo, and people be prodding themselves on it. And I'm like, y'all know that. Don't y'all know that system is in place to slow you down so you can't do as much rapid productivity because they need to control it a little bit? And I don't mean controlling in a bad way. It makes perfect business sense for the way that the business has designed a bureaucracy. But they designed a bureaucracy so that they can slow you down so you won't be doing a bunch of hyper productivity and sort of overrun management.
Exactly.
Some of the bureaucracy in place in corporations is set there purposefully so that the person who is actually over you that you're smarter than, you can't actually outrun them or outsmart them to a certain extent because all these things are in place, all these reviews are in place, all these, and so corporations that I've seen work with a little less bureaucracy, they are more productive, and you see their output, but they're also more creative. So it's like this balance of like, if the company internally tends to value creativity, then the productivity works a little differently in terms of like lightening levels of bureaucracy. But if it's a company that's a little bit more conservative and a little bit more old school, you don't have as much room to create, and so there's more levels of bureaucracy included. And I think there's a lot of things in there in terms of like corporate distractions that make you feel like you're being productive by the steps you took, and you're actually not up against a small business. You're not.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it becomes like corporations usually they become to be big. We can call them corporations as opposed to a business. Is because they become insanely profitable, and then with that profit, they usually layer in people and systems that are so that the person above them, the person above the position, doesn't get fired, right? Like, so they want to disaggregate the role enough so that they have a job and no one person has their capability. And what that essentially does is companies get bigger and bigger. What essentially does is really makes, even if you manage something, they've abstracted away the hard work of running a business, right?
And they essentially swelled that middle management layer, which never gets addressed. The crazy BS that's happening, the racism, the classism, the like sort of minimizing and terrible treatment of employees, a lot of times it's happening at that middle management layer. Like we blame the CEO, and I would say that, like, sometimes I think we blame the CEO in the wrong way. We don't go, CEO, you should have laid off, that racist middle manager. We go like, CEO, you should have done something overall to everyone in the company. And it's like, it's like, that's kind of like, that doesn't make sense. It's like the addressing of the middle management layer has to take place, because this is where, I hate to say this, and no tea, no shade to middle managers for some of y'all, but some of the most mediocrity in the company is in the middle management layer.
Yeah, I mean, most of it. I mean, and then because that exists, when you might try to recruit someone with that capability, like the corporate, they just they're not delivering. They're just not delivering. And that's, coming from a startup space that I've been in for a while, you don't want to waste money. So a lot of times I would rather recruit someone that has a startup experience, where I can almost gauge that they went from 0 to 1, and I know what it took to get to that space.
Yeah.
Right. And I know they were involved. Right. And, I think that's just been my bias lately, away from like major corporates, even though the names, the logos look great, Goldman this and, Google that.
Dang, you saying something, because as I was just talking to you a minute ago about me hiring an EA, I think, and it's funny, my HR manager right now, she came from startups. So she gets it. She gets the fast pace. She gets the no nonsense, whatever. It's like, she gets it. You know what I mean? And she was mainly working with men, of course. So, I think that you're right. I really actually need an EA that has startup experience, because they're going to get that rapid running, especially like right now I'm in a big fundraising period. So like, they're going to get that like hyper productivity, like we on a rhythm. You were saying something about like when these companies are insanely profitable, the first thing they do is they just figure out how to make that first windmill work. Like, let's say like the pinwheel. They say, okay, they take that first pinwheel and they're like, this pinwheel knows how to work now. Oh, bet. They take that pinwheel, they make it electronic, they turn it into a small hand fan. Then they say, oh, we got this small hand fan. We could turn this into either, we could scale this up and make it a bigger fan, or we could take this and put it inside of a car, and now it cools the engine off, right? Whole time it has the exact same process.
Yeah.
Right? Has the exact same shape, form, all of that. It's just that they decide to put it in different casings. They decide to make it different sizes, and then they put it inside of these different vehicles, and it works. Here's the thing about that. That means that they're literally doing the same thing they've been doing for the last 100 years. However, they learn how to, like, to your point, layer in the people so that it doesn't impact the bottom line. At the point where the layering in the people starts to impact the bottom line, you see massive layoffs. But what I think that, I would dare say a lot of corporate employees realized, during the mass exodus, was like, oh, y'all really not going to fire these middle managers for real. Because the middle manager who is sort of mediocre, but like, doesn't let anybody fire them, but also like keeps the bureaucracy going. I hate to say this, but it's sort of a benefit to the company.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like from a business perspective, it's terrible. What I'm saying is terrible. But to a company, it's easy for the company to see them as an asset, because all the company wants to do is keep making the same money, and like everybody just tread the way they tread. And they don't want a bunch of new ideas all the time. They don't want a bunch of new creativity all the time. They don't want a bunch of new people trying to institute new things. They don't want to fix things sometime. I'm not saying every corporation, but a lot of times they don't want to. That's why I'm not a good employee
Mhm.
because I've always, from day one, wanted to fix things that nobody else wanted to fix.
Oh, okay. So you're busybody.
No, I'm not a busybody. It's just that I see the problem quick and I'm like, we need to solve that. And then people are like, no, we don't. And I'm like, yo, we keep running into the same issue. We need to solve that. They're like, no, we don't. Let's not solve that. Yo, why aren't we investing in solving this thing that keeps causing hella like conversations and meetings and but for some reason people don't see the like sometimes the core of the systems. And like I could give multiple, I won't even go into it because then people might start getting offended if they're saying this. I'm just gonna say that like you always have to back up. I always have to back up and go, love what we're doing, but what are we solving?
Mm-hmm.
What's the core of this? What is making us continue to move down this path? And I just don't know if there's enough like questions around that.
No, I think that that's really interesting. One thing I wanted to bring up, you were talking about automation and how efficiency in the workplace. One of the predictions that we made in our prediction show was about, I made a prediction about how AI that moves atoms is really going to be a difference in this year. And I wanted to just tap in a little bit to that prediction.
And I wanted to just tell you how my prediction already came true. Just say, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, just say that, bro. Like, I want to tell you how I was right. So let me lean in. Okay.
I'm not necessarily right yet, but it's something I'm tracking, right? So when there's this underlying thesis of if you saw the economics, the manufacturing sector keeps on having this it's in this eighth quarter of decline of growth in terms of the manufacturing sector. When I look at those,
back up. I guess back up a little bit until like the trade deficit is down.
Yeah, the trade
for
deficit.
the first time in what 30 years, I think they're saying.
Yeah, the first time in 30 years, the trade deficit has shrunk, and a lot of that you could say is due to the tariffs or the local or domestic production has gone up, right? And exports have gone up. What I believe, though, is that has happened, but domestic production from manufacturing has not increased the amount of jobs. But that's because the type of equipment, the type of production that is happening in America is happening with AI. So that what I'm trying to get at is Trump may believe, and he may be right. Let's say Trump is right, that he's going to create more American production. But because of AI, that production isn't necessarily going to accrue, that productivity isn't going to accrue capital to the people who would be employed, because it's going to really accrue capital to the people that sell machines, that help with, kind of production like AI. And it's also going to help the people who own the capital that will be able to buy those machines. So we're going to get into a point of like extreme capitalism again, right? Where it's like the Gilded Age, where people who can afford all of this stuff is happening. And I mean, I think that is an interesting, I don't know how to make money in that world, right? Like I keep on reading historically, how did people become like navigate that time? And I'm just sort of like looking at it as, how do you make money when there's only going to be these huge billionaires and trillionaires really being able to be their own sort of city states? What happens in that?
You got to become a salesperson.
It looks probably
because and I tell people this. Let me see. How do people navigate the Gilded Age? Let's see. I tell people that sales was actually so important to our economy at one point. Like sales was like such a huge role to have. Oh, you in sales? Oh, he's in sales. Oh, in sales. And then eventually it became this whack thing where it's like, oh no, you're in sales? Oh, sales. Because it became like commission only. And then people didn't want to live off of commission only anymore because they like, you kill what you eat, and everybody wasn't a fan of that. But now it's been since tech, the boom, like tech booming over and over, tech sales rising. Like the number of salespeople is on the rise again.
Yeah, I
And
think that's the category. That's going to be the most important category because everything's going to be automated. So AI slop isn't going to really affect who's going to make the decisions. And because the amount of people in corporations is decreasing, the amount of authority they have to purchase sales things are going to, like, per person is going to increase, right? Like, if so, it's a real interesting role, especially selling this equipment. Like, if you could start selling AI equipment, the adoption of AI, the people who get to sell those large equipments to the people who are buying it, that's going to be a space to grow. One of the things funny enough, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, Shanita Nicholas, about how a place like Baltimore should become a hub for computer integrated surgery machine manufacturing and computer integrated surgery, like healthcare equipment manufacturing, AI healthcare equipment manufacturing, because of all of the universities, especially the leading digital, like the leading computer integrated surgery space in the world is Johns Hopkins, right? So if you think about how all of those, if you ever watch any space movies, there's like these health pods that people get, like, all this digital surgery. Well, that is a future, right? Like, people talk about automated cars. There's going to be automated surgery, and that is happening. And some people are, some schools are leading the way. Johns Hopkins in Baltimore is one of those schools. I think, Baltimore could be defined by being a Renaissance region of this sort of element, which is no one talks about Baltimore and like what its prospects could be. And to me, this is just visioneering. So I'm just putting it out there. But I just think about how.
But also, that's crazy.
Mhm.
That's what you just said. It's crazy that nobody talks about Baltimore in a futuristic way,
Mhm.
because first of all, some of the best people, professionals to do work with you are from Baltimore. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the most loyal, like dedicated, like I'm gonna do my thing like I'm doing my thing for TV people is Baltimore. Like I literally, so I might have an EA that's out there. Hey, if you an executive admin or an executive business partner person and you in Baltimore, you from Baltimore, you might be anywhere, but you from Baltimore, I'm apt to want to work with you, because I'm telling you, like, I like hit a sister up, because some of the best people that I've worked, like contracted from
Yeah.
Baltimore. On top of the fact that I still don't I don't understand. There's a narrative that nobody's willing to invest in shifting about Baltimore.
Yes.
No,
Baltimore.
and when I say it can be shifted, but who's willing to invest in what it takes to shift that narrative? Like it needs to be. There's so many dope spots. There's so much, like, you got the waterfront. You got all this property. Is you got the number one hospital in the country.
It could be a shining city by the
One of the
sea.
top hospitals. Let me say that, because I don't know what the number one hospital.
Yeah, because we might go Mayo Clinic with that, or some
Right.
folks
I don't know what it is.
issues with you. But I definitely think Johns Hopkins is a leading research institution, one of the top leading research institutions, healthcare research institutions, and I believe they got tuition for free because of Bloomberg. So there's an element, if someone has a vision and they really started to, some of our billionaires are a little down on their money, but they could pitch.
Are they down on their money? Why are they down on their money?
A lot of people made money in Baltimore because of Under Armour, and Under Armour.
Okay, got it.
You know where we're at. It's kind of where the Ravens are at. We gonna get back.
Wait a minute.
We gonna get back.
Wait a minute. Okay. Off topic. On topic. Off topic. All right. So, well, look, man, it's always dope chopping it up with you, y'all. You watching the Omi Show after party. We just recorded the January the 18th episode of the Omi Show, so it'll be coming. If you're watching us live right now, you'll see the first half of what we talked about, which is on SiriusXM channel 126 Urban View every Sunday at 11 a.m. Cope, what you got coming up? I know we got All-Star Weekend coming up here in LA. You got some things popping for that?
Yeah, I do. So Game Plan LA is happening, and it's going to be a wonderful dinner an activation that forges together the African diaspora, Africans that are going to talk about business and continuity and being a bridge of culture and community, which just sounds like a whole bunch of fluff. But we're all going to eat, we're going to break bread, and we're going to find out some business opportunities we can do together, at every level.
I need to get on the list
You will
because
be.
you said getting something to eat. That's the part. That's the part where you got me. No. I'll always want to get into some business at wherever, because I think, all eyes on the continent, right? Like, for sure. But as a diaspora, oh man, we didn't get into the like ADOS
Oh,
foundational black situation.
what they're talking about with Jasmine Crockett too? How she get a shot? She been her people been in the country 200 years.
What did they say?
They
I
said
missed that part.
so. Some ADOS people or the Freedmen's Bureau have been saying that Jasmine Crockett's great grandmother was from Louisiana by way of Haiti, so she's not black enough to.
What? Shut up.
To me, I was like, wow, that's like calling someone 1/16 black. You know what I mean? Like, so the
That's wild.
element of her is too much. Like, it's just one drop of Haitian is too much. Like, what? When did it become like? I don't believe Black America, from my time within it, has it ever become a popular narrative that being any drop of immigrant is a problem, right? Like, I thought, sometimes there's all these jokes about, African booty scratcher because of movies and things. And if you never watch Boys in the Hood, then you wouldn't know where that like clip comes from, and then you don't understand how people are kind of like making a pop culture reference, even though they're insulting you. So it's just weird where things are going with this digital culture and narrative that's out there.
Hmm. I can't find that. Oh,
No,
let me see.
I sent it to you. It's not even worth being shared, to be honest.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's not. I see it. Yeah, no, that's kind of crazy. That's real crazy. But yeah, I think what is the ADOS stand for? Ascend
American descendants of slaves.
American is so which one are we supposed to be? American descendants of slaves or foundational black?
Now, I don't know the difference particularly, besides one's from like the way that they kind of Tariq Nasheed, like they separated based on like following different people, which is, if I've seen anything, that's the black and African way, very
What
similar.
is it? Because what is it? It's foundational. What is it? FBOS?
Yeah,
F
at this, I
FB.
think the foundational Black American, I believe, or it's Freedman. There's like, the Freedman Bureau, which was Howard's first name. So there's like
Okay,
a.
here we go. Here we go. Foundational Black Americans and American descendants of slavery are related but distinct terms for Black Americans descended from slavery, focusing on distinct aspects. ADOS, which is American descendants of slavery, emphasizes direct lineage from U.S. slavery for reparations, justice, while Foundational Black Americans, or FBA, broadly advocates for Black Americans, often highlighting systematic issues and reparations, but sometimes leaning toward Black voter apathy. This still ain't telling me it. One of them I know is about ancestors who were enslaved, and the other one being about for people who are Black people in the U.S., but your ancestors weren't slaves.
Oh, really? I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
that's the difference. One of them is about your ancestors being slaves. The other one is saying like you're Black, but your ancestors weren't slaves. And I think one of the argument is that like you're Black, but your ancestors weren't slaves means you don't get reparations.
Oh yeah, I think that's 100%. I mean, I wouldn't. I do think that there is institutional racism that you could say has had occurred to Black people who weren't descendants of slaves in America. So I don't. I mean, I experienced institutional racism, and I only found out like 5 years ago. So there's if there are reparations for the times after like the Civil Rights Act was initiated, then I definitely think that there's going to be Black people who weren't descendants of slaves, right? Because there's like different ways to be a descendant of slaves, which is I'm always kind of confused by, because you can be American and you can be a descendant of slavery that happened in Brazil, descendant of slavery that happened in Jamaica. You know what I mean? Like slavery happened in a lot of places, so you can be a descendant of slavery, but not one that was born that's of America, right? Like, and your family could have moved over, but you're still like, if your family moves over from Jamaica, you're still a descendant of slaves. So it's like, is it really about slavery and reparations? Because if it is, then a lot of people would qualify in strange ways, right? Like, is your amount of being Jamaican going to disqualify you from? Because I don't know, right? Like, it's who's responsible.
Yeah, that's the crazy part, is like the history runs so deep that like, but I think that the kicker is like, if we're talking about just the US,
Mm-hmm.
because I just don't know how you separate the diaspora in that way and say like, oh, you're not a descendant of slavery. In what way? But I think these mean U.S., like United States slavery, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's where the distinction come in. So slavery in other countries, yes, maybe, but United States slavery, and then you deserve reparations from the United States because of that slavery, is interesting. But again, I think you and I talk often about this this effort to divide Black and African,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that like this, like I'm not gonna speak to the movements of, so so here's the challenge.
But
I hear
wait,
people. Go ahead.
this is something, this is going to be, to me, this is an interesting positioning that's happening right now, is that the divide between Black Americans and Africans is coinciding with a weird divide that's happening between white Americans and Europeans. Like with, like, I'm not sure if it's parallel, if the behavior is just
You
like,
saying something, friend? It's happening right now more than we've ever. Like I actually haven't. So I mean, like yes, to if you're American and go to Europe, and there was a difference, but right now it feels very much with the way that Trump is pulling us out of all interactions internationally.
mhm.
It's becoming more present. Like,
Yes.
oh, European, or you're white American.
Hmm. It's
I
become
think
very,
that, and even though that Europeans are, some of them can be racist, they're like, well, we're not that kind of, we're not the MAGA kind of racist. You know what I mean? Like there's something happening there too. And I'm like, oh wow, there is a separation between the white folks happening.
it is very separate. The threat to NATO is really a threat to all of Europe, and then all of Europe is going to be against America. And I can tell you, even though there are a lot of Black people in the armed forces, to me, the way I feel about how the Department of War is proceeding, it seems like it's doing it without any of our involvement. Like none of our discussion is happening. Our representatives aren't voting on this. Congress, Senate isn't involved. It seems like it's very much whoever's in the
It's
White House.
dictatorship.
So I don't think I have to take responsibility as a citizen as what is going on with the president's army, right? It doesn't feel like it's the people's army. It feels like the president's army.
Mm.
And they feel like those people in the administration seem like they're hell bent on doing whatever they want in Venezuela, whatever they want with Greenland, and that's directly opposing, Europe. And I don't want to see a world war, right? Like I'm trying to make money, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't,
Seriously.
so I'm like, as much as but to like these white countries, the way that they fight too, they use gas and they can hit each other too because they got ballistic missiles. I don't need none of that in my life. Listen, I can't even. I mean, what are we doing here? And so he needs to cool out.
And there's like a weird belief that that won't happen. I think
I mean,
among the most privileged, among the most privileged, because there's like this, oh, that won't happen. I think that the reason that they're thinking that is because they are the belief that they will be able to fare through it no matter what. And it's unfortunate. Like that's the unfortunate part, that there's a reality that, you won't be able to fare through it in the same like that. That's not something you want to even attempt to fare through.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't built like people ain't built like they used to be. We ain't ready. We can't go through the war, man. Are you kidding me? Like we
Listen,
ain't. The people aren't there. Like they. And I'm not saying that they used to be built forward and that made it right. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that like yeah, we living in a soft. You talking about women being in their soft era. All of us in our soft era, we are not ready for security. This faux level security we got, because we got like little electronic gates and key fobs. Y'all are tripping if you think that's real security. That is an illusion of security, because guess what? That gate closes too slow.
listen, we are not ready. I'm not ready. I know we as a country are not ready for war that happens on American shores. That is not what America is ready for. And I mean, I don't know if Europe is ready for it, but I know they've experienced it a lot more than America has. But I'm not looking to experience it at all, right? Like, I'm not unpatriotic in ways, but I will save myself and my family. So, if I need to escape to Trinidad and Tobago, that's one of the best places to be black at. They make money there.
Is it?
I've been trying to keep track of where's a good place to be black.
Where is a good place to be black?
Healthcare and education that you could like retire to and not think you're gonna like die because you chose that country kind of thing. But that's like majority black. So I've been trying to track where could that be. It's going to change every year, but I feel like that should be a ranking. Like, where can I get good healthcare, relax on the beach, be black without, apologies. But that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other.
We're going to talk about that next show. Where can we be black? And there's a dating coach. I just saw this earlier, and he was saying like where black women can go that they love you. He named a bunch of places across Europe, and I would love to bring that to the show where we're like, hey, here's what he said, and if you've been to any of these places, like where can you be black and that be fine and that be celebrated and that be, what's the best place to be black? Look, y'all, yeah, send me a DM about that at Omi Bell. What's the best place to be black?
And then there's like different times when you want to go on vacation. There's times where you just want to have like a party. It might be Mexico City. I've been seeing a lot of us down in Mexico City. They must be treating us well.
Maybe, but we need to go on down there. We right here. We right here at it. All right, we got. Thank y'all so much for listening. We really appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for tuning into the show. The Omi Show airs every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sirius XM Channel 126 Urban View. And we go live right after the show because we can't quite fit everything in. So we'll be going live. The thing is, we're going to have to get more consistent about when we go live because we just be doing it whenever we do it. And, y'all, thank y'all for tuning in, though, every time we do it, because people are hopping in on Instagram and following and looking. But we just be going, we go. We're going to figure out a time where maybe it'll be Thursdays. We just don't know what time on Thursdays. Y'all just keep it live. Just follow and set notifications for any time I'm going live. So as soon as I do, it'll let you know. My co-host Cope is here with me every week. We really appreciate y'all for tuning in. And that'll be all, folks. Till next time. We need some outro music. We gotta go. Have you seen?
I do like outro music.
There's a Tupac song called "It's Checkout Time," and I used to bartend at a strip club. Okay, and every time it was time to go, the DJ would play this song. And at the beginning, he says, "It's checkout time," and then it goes, "We gotta go." We gotta go. The song is kind of grungy and kind of hypersexual.
If we're going to do lists, we need to also do a list of the top 10 or top 5 get out the club song, like the ones where they close down the club. Like, Mariah Carey.
You gotta have that one.
Mariah Carey has a song like "Get the Heck Out of Here" or She has there's some tracks where it's like, there's some tracks built for certain things. I love to have like playlists built on just a theme like that.
What's that closing one that the white people want? It's closing time.
Exactly. That's the one that they love. They love that.
I low key kind of like it too. So but yeah, okay, wait, we need to make a note. Top 10 places where you could be, where it's best to be black. Best top 10 places to be black. Top 10 checkout closing song, like get out the club, we about to turn the lights on. Slow songs that we play. Okay, make a note for us to visit that before and visit that next time. All right, y'all. We'll see y'all next week.